What is going on, guys? Hope you guys are doing well. Today, I just wanted to talk about how the 40-hour work week is, in fact, going to keep you broke and why that is. So, I've been seeing some videos recently floating around about how a lot of people are complaining that their 40 hours a week at whatever job that they have is keeping them barely above floating. If not, they're in the red. They're not actually saving any money. They're spending more money. And I agree, as someone who spent years and years of pretty much most of my 20s thinking that 40 hours a week was going to cut it financially for myself, it just truly doesn't. Now, that's not the case for a few people. And what do I mean for a few people? I'm talking about the people who are smart enough to apply themselves in school. And if they do go to college, they go to college for a degree that has a good ROI, return on investment for the time that they're spending there, such as engineering, medical, like nursing, science, like computer science, or anything related to any one of those fields. Now, obviously, I know that we're in a bit of a tech recession right now, so maybe tech is not the greatest example, but also people who, instead of going to college, went to the trades when I was getting out of high school, are doing very well for themselves, at least if they've stuck with it and they've mastered their skills, and they're now a master plumber or a master electrician, master journeyman, lineman, or something like that. They're doing really well because they went into a high demand field in a skilled position that is going to pay them a lot of money, despite, the last 40 years of our teachers, guidance counselors, our parents telling us if you didn't go to college, you're a loser. But that aside, people who are in those fields don't have an issue on the income side of things with the 40-hour work week. They're doing just fine for the most part. Could you find some examples of, that not being the case? Sure. But I'm talking in general terms. Those people, dentists, anybody who is in a skilled, high demand position is doing pretty well for themselves. Now, are they spending their money that they do get in wisely? Debatable. That remains to be seen for a lot of people. And some people are spending it and saving it well. The reality is we are no longer in the 50s where just some, rink-a-dink construction job or some low-skill job is going to pay the bills and have it to where you're comfortably living. That's just not the case. Certainly not with most people. And I know for a fact, because you can look this up and you can look it up yourself, 80% of people in college are pursuing non-STEM degrees. And I'm focusing again on STEM because those generally have the best return on investment for your time in college. So 80% of people are wasting their time. And guess what? I was one of them. I majored in criminal justice. I found out that I'm not in the criminal justice field and it's not a good fit for me. So guess what? It's now a useless degree for me. So if you're in that position where you don't have a useful degree anymore, or the degree or whatever field you're in is not paying enough, you can make a change. You can go into a different high paying, high demand field like trucking, like any of the trades, like anything that is going to be medically based, dentist, nursing, any specialty within any sort of doctorate field of medical, engineering. My brother-in-law is a chemical engineer. He doesn't worry about money at the end of the day. He's doing very well for himself because he put in that hard 5 years or whatever it was. I think it was 5 years, because he put in the 5 years of hard work and studying diligently and putting himself in the position to where he did his hard work up front. He's now paid very well for only working 40 hours a week because he is in a skilled, high demand position of chemical engineering. So if you're in the other category where you weren't smart enough or you were just too lazy to apply yourself in school or go into the trades off the bat, it's not too late. You can still do that regardless of what age you're at. You don't have to buy into the sunk cost fallacy that it's too late and you've already dug your own grave. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. It's completely up to you. But at the end of the day, there is still opportunity out here in better fields, in high demand fields, if you're willing to put in the effort. Or you can do what I did for the majority of my 20s, where I floundered about in various fields in low skilled positions, expecting higher pay despite me not having the skills to require it or being in an in-demand field. And ultimately, that is what led me to trucking, is because I knew it was an in-demand field. And after spending some years in trucking, I decided to go into the hazmat route so that I could get paid a decent wage for a day's work. Now, do I work more than 40 hours a week? Absolutely. And do I like working more than 40 hours a week? No, absolutely not. But the reality is I didn't put that hard work up front. I didn't, do the proverbial 40 years in the desert suffering up front, where I was decent at math too. I could have gone into some sort of engineering if I had just applied myself and sucked it up. I didn't. I chose the easy route. I chose criminal justice because I thought it was going to be interesting and fun and a good fit for me. Turns out it wasn't. And now I can't use that degree, and I wasted 4 years of my life as a result. That being said, I am now making up for it as a result by working more than 40 hours a week, to where I am able to contribute to retirement, save a bunch of money every single month, and still have enough left over for emergencies, and to live a good life. The reality is, if you want to have a good life, you're going to have to work more than 40 hours a week, unless you put your effort up front and you go to medical school, you go through engineering school, you go to a highly skilled position. And shoot, even linemen in the trades, they still work way more than 40 hours a week on average. Certainly when, storms come through and knock out power lines and all that jazz. And so they're paid a lot more than somebody who is just purely working 40 hours a week, doing what most every other people do with, a general marketing degree or a general business management degree. Now, could I have found myself in a 40-hour-a-week trucking job? Yeah, absolutely. I've worked several jobs that were around 40 hours a week that paid even pretty decently. But at the end of the day, when I crunched the numbers, I was going to have to work until I was 60 or 65 on the low end if I had stayed at a lot of those companies where I was only working 40 hours a week. I don't want to do that. I would rather pull the Band-Aid off, and I would rather work 50 to 60 hours a week and be able to retire at 50 to 55 than retire at 60 to 65. Doesn't mean that's going to be the case for you. Maybe you're fine, having some of that time right now instead of putting more than 40 hours a week in at work, and you'd rather, retire at 60, 65. That's fine. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong path, but ultimately you need to live in a reality. And that reality is now, for most people who are not in a high skill, high demand job, 40 hours a week is not going to cut it. And so unless you're an extreme minimalist, or you do have that high skill and high demand job, you're going to have to work more than 40 hours a week unless you want to work until you're dead. I wish it wasn't that way, but at the end of the day, I live in reality, and I don't focus on how it should be or what it could be. I just like to focus on reality because that allows me to control the controllable aspects of my life. So with that being said, if you think I'm wrong, you're more than welcome to put that down in the comments section down below. Otherwise, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless.